Hello, beautiful people. How are all of you doing today? And welcome.
Wow. Where did that come from?
How you guys doing? Wait, I don't know. There it is. Enjoying a nice cup of tea. Okay, British. Be gone.
Adventure time.
I had grapes today. Doing very tasty, doing good. I'm not British. You just called it a cuppa. Really now. Good morning, Zajef. Is there any hope for Arlecchino, or is her best team just gonna be so Bennett again? Okay. There is hope for, okay, Arlecchino in, okay. Assuming they don't change anything and she gets released in her current beta state, right? Arlecchino is like fine. Right? Like, she's not bad, but she's also not good. Right? It's like the difference between alright and alright. Right? It's like when there's not that whoop at the end of the word, alright. Alright. Like it's a whoop difference, right? Without the whoop, it's like it's not as good, you know? It just is what it is, right? She yeah. Is her best team gonna be Singto Bennett? In terms of output, no. In terms of not feeling like shit to play, probably. I would expect her to be even more reliant on Singto's defensive utility and right, both the damage reduction and the thing, what the thing, my brain don't work. Sorry, okay, listen, I recorded a Wuthering Waves video off stream before the beta closed, and my brain is scrambled, sorry. She's more reliant on Singto's damage reduction and resistance to interruption than Hu Tao is. And the biggest issue in a lot of her higher DPS teams is that there's no good defensive option. Right? You're doing like Bennett Kazuha Yelan, you're doing like Bennett Chevreuse Fischl, and you just die. Like, you're gonna fucking die. I heard she flies. Is that true? Maybe in your heart, buddy. It's okay, Zajef. Is she at least a stronger Harbinger at the moment in terms of damage output? Compared to... So, who are the other Harbingers? What, Child and Wanderer? I think the thing about Wanderer is that he has the upside of, you know, being able to dodge attacks by just being in the air, and of being able to hit enemies that are in the air and that move a lot, right? Because of his range. I'd say she's better than no C6 Farazan Wanderer, but I would rather play Wanderer with C6 Farazan than Arlecchino in terms of like expected performance, I guess.
Off we go.
We forced to use her new set, or does she have an option? You can use Glad, but it's kind of like using two-piece instead of a signature set. Like, her signature set is 54 damage percent and 18 attack. It's a lot. Child is the worst? No. Child is above Wanderer without C6 Farazan as well, in my opinion. But I think nowadays International is just a lot more of a speedrun team because of the ways that the setups are like harder to do than a lot of other teams, and a lot of enemies just don't give you long enough DPS windows to be able to properly do them. This would be a good abyss for International, right? Because you have AoE stuff. AoE stuff and enemies that don't move too much, right? Like, this is going to be a good abyss for International. But there's some abysses that feel a bit worse for it.
Off we go.
Hopefully at the end fucks you over. Just don't get hit. True. Was a huge news. So apparently they're introducing ethical leakers. Changes to the content creator test server. New content creator test server. Unreleased content in the content creator testing server is allowed to be shown and explained to the public. The textual and visual content being sent must first be assessed and authorized by Hoyo. Doing so without being assessed by Hoyo may lead to CC partnership being cancelled. For example, you cannot say that C0 free-to-play character X is outright terrible. We would be better off talking about the pros and cons of a character and provide recommendations for the character. So, yeah, basically what this is media server, except that people can post the videos earlier. There's some good and there's some bad with this, right? First, let's get it out of the way. My initial reaction when I saw this, like the first instinct I had was, oh no, my job. Oh no. But you know, after a couple seconds, I got over the emotional backlash and was like, you know what? Okay, let's think about it. Are you joining? Definitely not. No. Assuming that it's like they actually make this early enough that like it actually comes out with the leaks, right? And it's not just the day before the patch like the current media server bullshit.
Benny's adventure team, assemble!
Right, assuming that this is a good change, right? Because realistically,
Good things come to those
realistically,
who wait around. That's what they say anyway. Knowing my luck,
it just means that leaks, there's going to be more people covering leaks, right? But it's also not good because
Assemble.
they don't specify how much they're gonna censor any criticism of characters, right? Like, they're saying you can't say a character is terrible, you have to talk about the pros and cons. But, like, they can interpret that however they want, right? And this is not an official statement either, right? If you say, yeah, this character is pretty underwhelming, it's possible that they consider that to be too much. You can't say that. You're not allowed. Right? And so it's hard to tell how much is going to impact the actual content that is made.
Ow.
Surely Risley is good without C1, surely Wonder is not C6 Farazan reliant. Those two statements are not built equal, okay? Risley is far from bad without C1, he's just cringe without C1. Okay? His design is just cringe.
Let's go find some treasure. Benny's Adventure Channel.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how to feel about this.
Or not.
Paying content creators to only say good things. Oh, you think they're paying them? Oh yeah, bro. Paid in Primo gems. Yeah, bro. Fucking 1,000 Primos a patch. You're gonna pay my rent with those Primos. Hell yeah. Wasn't it 20 wishes? Is that low now? I have no fucking clue. I've never been in it. Maybe your landlord plays Genshin, and what are you gonna do? You can't use your Primos to give other people things. That's not how it works. Why not? I don't know. Ask them.
Adventure time.
Or maybe you sign up for the content creator server with your landlord's account. Hell yeah. I wish I didn't look at the replies, as most of them think you're gonna join this program, bro. Man, Klugi. Surely I will join.
Off we go. Adventure time.
Klugi. Surely you're not on the Hoyo blacklist. Okay, here's the thing, right? The main reason why I'm on the Hoyo blacklist is because of the leaked content. And if I stop the leaked content, I probably could get in.
Off we go.
Right? But even if I could, I wouldn't. If you stop leak content, you'll lose your niche. Yes and no. Like,
Adventure time.
on YouTube, yeah. On Twitch, no. And like, I gotta be honest with you guys, YouTube doesn't pay the rent. Alright, most of the YouTube revenue goes to editors.
Adventure time.
Either way, though, it's more so that
Off we go.
there is no way I'm going to give Hoyo the final say on whether or not I can post a video. Fuck no. And a lot of my issues with Hoyo aren't just, and the reason why I you know, do content about leaks isn't just, ooh, I'm excited for the next character. It's their release schedule and lack of a roadmap is just a way to exploit people's FOMO. And leak content is important because it helps counter that to some extent, right? Leaks saved my life, true. Also, the whole don't spend money on this shit game line probably doesn't help, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Adventure time.
What do you want Robin's kit to be like in Star Rail? Does it really matter what a character's kit is like in Star Rail? Either, like, it's literally, you're either going to use your skill or your normal attack. Like, who cares? It's a turn-based game with 2 buttons. It doesn't matter what the character does. Can I expect your Abyss review video on YouTube today? No. I will make a video about this Abyss, but it will not be on YouTube today. Did you see the most recent Ziox Twitter post? I don't know, did I? What is the most recent? Oh, it's the Kesha one? Yeah.
Oh, ow. Where did that come from? Off we go.
Dude, honestly, okay. I get, well, haha, funny CCP censorship. But if you think that they care about censorship, censoring the gays more than they care about making money, you're stupid. You're dumb. They care so much more about making money. I think they care the same about both? No, they do not. Can I go to other places to run in circles in? Fine. Fine, I'll go somewhere else. The VOD has its own laws. Wait, where's the place I was in last time? That was the nice to run in circles in. Was it here? I think it was here. No, it wasn't.
Off we go.
Wait, what is that? Probably World Quest bullshit. I don't care. It's the other statue. Thank you. Ah, yeah. Yeah. That's perfect. You linked a YouTube video. Okay, what is the YouTube video? Reading Moby Dick until something gay happens. What is that?
Just gonna flip to a random page and see what we got here. See if anything good comes up.
Benny's adventure team.
Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. All the morning long, I squeezed that sperm till I myself almost melted into it. I squeezed that sperm till a strange sort of insanity came over me. Why the fuck haven't I read this book before?
Okay. Well, that's...
No one's joined me on an adventure in ages. Come on, let's
That's... a thing. Yep, mm-hmm.
Oh, ow. Where did that come from?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was a YouTube video. Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure.
Adventure time.
Thank you for the help.
Adventure time.
Could you check the minus 15k? Sure, but if it's bad, you're gonna get banned. See, that sucks, because it is bad, but I can't ban you, because then you guys would call me homophobic. You live, but I'm not adding it. You live, but I'm not adding it. You live to see another day. For now. Have you watched Gio's video about artifact farming? No. As a general rule, if you ask me, have you watched X person's video about any Genshin related thing and I haven't done it on stream, I haven't done it. I end stream and stop thinking about Genshin. And I don't start thinking about Genshin again until I start stream the next day. Okay? Fuck that. But why? What is it? What is a conclusion in the video that is interesting? Like, what do you want me to watch out? What's going on with that video?
Adventure time.
He runs multiple simulation on when to end artifact farming. But to do what? Like, what do you do when you end artifact farming? What are you gonna spend your resin on once you don't farm for artifacts anymore? 10 weeks of artifact farming is the most optimal route for you in order to reduce spent resin. See, you saying this means that either the video's conclusion is dog shit, or you got the wrong conclusion from the video. Because there should never be a time breakpoint of how long to spend on an artifact domain. There's going to be an average time that it takes to reach an artifact quality breakpoint, and that may be 10 weeks. But it's possible you get unlucky over the course of those 10 weeks, and you shouldn't just stop farming after 10 weeks because it's been 10 weeks. Just like you shouldn't keep going if you got lucky in your first 3 weeks.
Good things come to
Right?
those who don't wait around. Off we go.
Can we watch it? Maybe. Fine, we can watch it.
When you build a character in Genshin Impact, there are
So as usual for videos like this, here's the link. Make sure you click on the link, right click on the tab, mute site, mute tab, whatever your browser says, right click on the video, loop, press play, leave it running in the background,
Or not.
and actually please do it, because we're watching the videos, so they should be getting the views from us watching the video. Thank you very much. I did it. Thank you.
Where did that come from?
And if you just mute the player directly, YouTube doesn't count it properly if it's not tabbed in.
generally 4 different areas of progression that you focus on: character ascension, weapon, talents, and artifacts. Each of these things cost resin to upgrade, whether it's in the form of ley lines, domains, or world bosses.
Okay, I muted you.
For most of these
Pog.
areas,
Perfect.
it's very clear exactly how much stronger you get and how much resin it costs to upgrade that build path. For example, leveling your skill talent from 6 to 7 increases its damage by 7%.
After 10 weeks worth of resin spent, the progress you're making is going down rocket speed. That's why I said that. But that's not true. Again, it's not after 10 weeks worth of resin the progress you're making goes down at record speed. It's after you reach the artifact quality that you will on average have after 10 weeks, your progression speed goes down at rocket speed. It's not actually 10 weeks for most people. Anyways.
And it costs roughly 80 resin to farm the talent ascension materials. Ascending and leveling your weapon from 80 to 90 increases your damage output by approximately 9%, and it costs about 120 resin for a 4-star weapon and 180 resin for a 5-star weapon to farm the weapon ascension materials. While the exact numbers might vary for different characters, weapons, or talents, we can more or less deterministically say how much stronger we're going to get from upgrading something from level X to Y, and also estimate how much resin it's going to cost us. Of course, there is some RNG involved with the ascension material drop rates, so you might get unlucky and have to run a domain 1 or 2 extra times. But in general, the variance isn't so extreme that it strays too far from the expected value. In this way, the character build process is like a series of contracts that you make with the game. The game says, give me 300 resin, and in return, I will make your character 10% stronger, or whatever that number might be. This model allows us to make informed decisions about where to invest our resin first, so that we can upgrade the things that give us the biggest return on investment, and work our way down to the upgrades that are less resin efficient. This applies for most of the 4 areas in our character build progression journey, but there is one part of the build that is unfortunately not so predictable, and that is artifact progression. If progressing talents, weapons, and character levels are like a series of contracts, progressing your artifacts is more like spending a month inside of a casino, not knowing whether or not you're going to walk out with anything worthwhile. When you consider all the different variables that go into building an artifact, the sheer number of possible permutations that an artifact can look like is a monstrously large number.
Is that true? Yeah, it is true. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
Because of this, no matter how much resin you gamble away on an artifact domain, there's really no good way to
Oh
exactly
god, combinations. I thought I left this already. We're back to probabilities. I hecking love probabilities.
predict how much stronger your character
And
will become
statistics.
after farming for however many weeks. And likewise, it's not very easy to estimate how much resin we need to spend to increase our character's damage output by a certain amount. To help tackle this problem, I wrote a small program that can randomly generate and upgrade a 5-star artifact, based on the probabilities that we know are used in the actual game. This allows us to simulate the process of rolling lots of different artifacts on a very large scale. Using this as
I
our
love how
building
you
block-
ask as if there's anyone in chat smarter than you. Oh, there's a lot of people in chat smarter than me. Listen, I don't think I'm an idiot, but I also don't think I'm a genius. It's not the me lies true. So yeah.
block, we can simulate the process of progressively upgrading a character's artifacts in a way that's very similar to how I actually do it in the game. Whenever I obtain an artifact, I first evaluate whether the main stat is something that's desirable for my character.
I don't think we need to
Then I
look at the
the substat.
methodology.
Now that we've set up the tools and methodology, we can try working out some of the problems that we posed earlier in the video. First, I tried simulating Wanderer stats after 1 week's worth of artifact farming, then 2 weeks of farming, then 3 weeks, and so on and so forth up to 20 weeks. I chose 20 weeks as a kind of arbitrary maximum because I felt that that's usually enough time to farm up a decent set of artifacts for a single character, but of course we could always go higher if we wanted to. With this series of simulations, we can see how Wanderer stats get stronger and stronger with each additional week that we spend farming. The number I'm most interested in tracking is this expected base damage stat. This is just a product of the total attack, crit multiplier, damage percent multiplier, and reaction multiplier. This is basically an aggregated stat that can tell us how strong our character is by combining our offensive stats into a single number. And we can use this number to track how strong our overall build is at any given time.
He's
Now
not
what we
calling
can
it
do with this
effective
data is
attack.
consider week 20
SMH my
to be
head.
our target stat goal, and then track how close we are to that goal on any given week. Now that we have this data set, we can make some pretty interesting observations. The first thing that immediately stood out to me is that we achieve over 60% of our 20-week goal after just 1 week of farming. That quickly goes up to over 70% after week 2 and almost 80% after week 3. The key takeaway here is that the majority of our character's power budget from artifacts is unlocked in just the first few weeks of farming. And if you understand how artifacts work, this actually isn't very surprising. Most of an artifact's power comes from its main stat.
Okay, maybe I need to look at the methodology, actually. How does he deal with goblets?
This allows us to simulate the process of rolling lots of different progressively obtain an artifact. I first evaluate and see if there are at least 3 substats, then I'll first upgrade it to +4 to reveal that 4th substat, and then further evaluate whether it's worth upgrading all the way to +20. If I do decide an artifact is worth upgrading all the way, then I finally evaluate whether it's worth replacing my character's current artifact with it by comparing the expected damage output before and after equipping that new artifact. By repeating this process X number of times, we effectively simulate what our character's stats might look like at the end of farming X artifacts. As an example, here's what Wanderer's artifacts and stats might look like after simulating this process with 280 random artifacts, or roughly 4 weeks worth of farming. One problem that we face though is that because artifact generation is so random, if I run the exact same 4-week simulation again, we can get a completely different set of artifacts and a very different looking stat sheet.
That's a defense percent main stat goblet, yeah. Okay.
For Wanderer. This ends up creating some very inconsistent results that are difficult to draw any meaningful conclusions from. One way we can mitigate this variance is simply to repeat the simulation a bunch of times. In this case, I chose to run it 1,000 times, and then average out the stats we get over all of those iterations. Now that we've set up the tools and methodology, how strong our character is, how our over 20-week goal after 10 artifacts work, this actually isn't very surprising. Most of an artifact's power comes from its main stat, and for most sets, the set effects are also a huge part of what makes the artifact desirable in the first place. RNG is still a big factor in finding set pieces with the right main stats, but the randomness is still relatively mild compared to finding the right substats. It's completely reasonable to expect that we can find these desirable main stats within the first few weeks of farming and unlock most of that power budget that the artifact has to offer. The second thing that stood out to me is that at the halfway point in the simulation, or after 10 weeks of farming, we are already 95% of the way to our 20-week benchmark. Another way of framing this is that it takes just as long to achieve the last 5% of our goal as it did to reach the first 95%. This really puts into perspective how difficult it is to improve your artifacts after you get past a certain point. Once you've already hit these major stat benchmarks, trying to improve your stats anymore just comes down to making these tiny micro optimizations that cost you a ton of resin and barely increase your damage. Bringing this back to the question of resin efficiency, we can already start to formulate a strategy from what we've learned so far. When you start building artifacts for a new character, I recommend starting off by spending about 2 weeks worth of resin to farm your artifacts. And this time you're just looking for pieces that have the right main stats for your character.
Okay, so I don't love this recommendation. I think this kind of misunderstands the data. Because again, right, it's yes, you should be looking for main stats and set only. And, you know, maybe for flower and feather, at least, like, maybe 3 or 4 good rolls. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the artifact quality. You're not looking for a certain amount of time, right? If someone still doesn't have the right main stats after 2 weeks, they should keep farming. And if they have the right main stats and relatively decent substats from 3 days, they shouldn't keep farming, right? I feel like giving a time recommendation for this process is actually somewhat misleading. You should give a time estimate. It's going to take you, on average, about 2 weeks, but not a time recommendation.
If that's something that your character needs. The pieces that you find in these first 2 weeks are probably not going to be great artifacts, but based on the data that's generated...
Like, the problem is that it chooses the wrong axis. Yes, exactly, right? Like, it's nice to know how long, on average, it's going to take you and how long you would expect it to take. But you shouldn't base what you're farming based on how long you've been farming it. You should base it on how good your artifacts are.
By the simulation, even with these far from perfect artifacts, as long as you have the right main stats and you upgrade them to plus 20, you can still expect to unlock about 70% of the total power budget that your artifacts have to offer. And given the relatively small amount of resin that's used in those 2 weeks, this is a really good deal. This is a very efficient usage of your resin. The second thing that we learned is that artifact farming quickly becomes very resin inefficient when you're just trying to improve your substats. Up to week 5 is actually not too bad. Gaining 10, 6, 3.5% more damage for a week's worth of resin is actually not a bad deal. but once you start going into week 6 and beyond, you're looking at only 1 to 2% damage increases for each additional week that you spend farming, and that's really just not a very good rate of return for the resin that you're investing. Your resin is much better spent on other parts of your build first. Get your weapon to 90, get your talents up to 8 or 9, level your characters to 90. All of these things are more resin efficient in terms of increasing your damage than trying to improve your artifacts beyond this 5-week benchmark. It's only after you've done all of these things that I would continue farming more artifacts. From this point, I usually aim for stats that are roughly around this 9 to 10 week benchmark. Of course, there's nothing stopping you from farming beyond this point. You can only get stronger from farming more artifacts. But the key point that I want you to take away from this is that after approximately this 10-week benchmark, it's going to be really tough to make major improvements on your artifacts. Most weeks you will
again, it's like it's looking at the wrong axis. Let me see if I can think of a comparison, right? Okay, it's like you're running a marathon, right? And you know, you've been running marathons for a while, and you know, you've gotten used to running marathons. You are now running marathons in, like, I don't know, what's like a good time to run a marathon that isn't fucking world record? What, like, how many hours? Like 3? 4? Let's say 3.5 hours. Okay, let's say 3.5 hours. 3 hours is really good. Yeah, let's say 3.5 hours. Right? Go run one. Oh, it's going to take more than that for me. When you run a marathon, you should stop running after the... How many is it? 42 kilometers? How long is a marathon? 42.2. Let's just say 42 kilometers. You need to stop running after 42 kilometers, right? You always need to stop running after 42 kilometers. He's basically telling you, okay, well, on average, running a marathon tells you 3.5 hours, so you should stop running after 3.5 hours. But if you were on a good day, you were in shape, you were feeling great, and you finished your marathon in 3 hours, you don't want to keep running! The fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Stop! And if it wasn't a great day, you don't want to stop a kilometer before the finish line, right? Like, your stopping point should not be based on how much time. It should be based on your artifact quality. Right? It's the wrong axis to look at. But yeah.
Probably walk away with no new good artifacts. On the weeks that you do, you're probably going to increase your damage by 1, maybe 2%. So if you're in the process of building new characters or multiple characters, really do stop and think whether there are other places that you could spend your resin on before you get this deep into artifact farming. Up to this point, we've done all of these simulations and
want to know what his benchmark is? What's good enough? I mean, it's... The problem isn't the benchmark. The benchmark is fine, right? It's basically looking at, based on how strong your character currently is, how resin efficient, how much DPS per resin you're gaining, right? That's a good benchmark. It's fine, right? But again, it's not about the time, right? But anyways.
While making a very big assumption, and that is that we only care about attack, crit rate, and crit damage. And I actually picked Wanderer in this simulation very deliberately because he is a character that doesn't care too much about having a lot of ER or EM, and he really just wants those raw offensive stats to maximize his normal and charge attack damage, which is where he gets a majority of his damage output. And in this sense, Wanderer is actually very picky about what he considers a good artifact. If it doesn't have all three attack, crit rate, and crit damage, he's probably going to want to keep looking for a better piece. Now, on the very opposite end of the spectrum, we have another damage dealer who is much better at utilizing all kinds of different stats, and that is none other than our Spiral Abyss poster child, Xiangling. The key difference with Xiangling is that ER and EM are actually quite valuable stats on her that directly contribute to her damage output, on top of the traditional offensive stats like attack and crit. And this means that Xiangling is much less picky about what she considers a decent artifact. If we're farming artifacts for Wanderer and we come across a piece that looks like this, we're probably going to throw it away, or at least try to replace it very soon, because it doesn't really offer a lot of value to Wanderer other than that main stat. But if we're farming for Xiangling and we find this piece, we would be pretty happy to see it. The EM directly amplifies her Vaporize reactions, and the ER improves the uptime on her burst, which is where the vast majority of her damage comes from. So this is a really good artifact for Xiangling, even though it's not the typical high CV artifact that we're usually looking for. Because she's able to utilize a lot of different substats effectively, she has a much bigger pool of viable artifacts to pick from. That having been said, let's see what the stat progression looks like when we rerun the 20-week simulation with Xiangling instead. What we see here is that the overall trend is still very similar. We still have this logarithmic curve where most of our progress is front-loaded in the first few weeks. We hit that 95% mark right around week 10 again, and we very slowly approach the 20-week benchmark with each subsequent week. But when we compare this to Wanderer's stat progression, we immediately see one key difference. The progress in the early weeks of farming is noticeably better for Xiangling. After week 1, we are 66% of the way to our 20-week goal, compared to 60 for Wanderer. After week 2, we are 76% of the way there compared to 71. And this is directly related to Xiangling being able to utilize other stats instead of just attack and crit. Even if you're not finding artifacts with perfect substats in those first 2 weeks, there's a much higher chance that you'll find at least a semi-decent artifact that still boosts your...
You know, I'd be interested in seeing this stat curve keep going, because it actually picks back up eventually, right? Because at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't really pick back up. It would, I guess Wanderer would go above, but it's like it's a fake above, right? But like the curve for Xiangling would have a like this at the end, because with Wanderer you only have 3 good substats, which means that it's harder to get an artifact that has all 3. But when you're looking at Ascends, for example, you only need 2 specific substats. With Xiangling, a perfect Ascends needs the 4 specific substats. In order to reach 100% of your Xiangling's potential, you need all 4 perfect substats. But anyways, I feel like it's interesting.
Even if you're not finding artifacts with perfect substats in those first 2 weeks, there's a much...
Let's take a look at these artifacts.
Crit. Even if you're not...
Okay, so this is really good. This is insane. What the fuck? That's a 9-liner. What the fuck? That's insane.
Not finding artifacts with perfect substats in those first 2 weeks.
This one isn't.
There's a much higher chance that you'll find...
That's pretty good.
At least a semi-decent artifact that still boosts Xiangling's damage, because she has a much bigger pool of substats she can work with. The key takeaway here is that it's generally less resin efficient to build characters that depend on just attack and crit, at least for the first few weeks. If you're building a character like Wanderer, you should expect that his damage will ramp up a little slower in the early stages of artifact farming, because you'll be looking for very specific pieces with a smaller pool of acceptable substats, which will naturally take longer to find. Some other characters that have similar build styles to this are Ito.
Imagine this whole video was made to flex his artifacts. I'd make a video like that. True!
Neuvillette. On the other hand, characters whose damage scales off of several different substats ramp up slightly faster. This means that you can get them off the ground and at least somewhat working in just the first couple weeks of artifact farming. Aside from Xiangling, characters like Alhaitham and Sino are on this end of the spectrum. These are characters that utilize a lot of different stats to compound their damage, and it makes it a lot easier this first couple weeks of artifacts. These are characters that utilize, aside from Xiangling, characters like Alhaitham and Sino are on this end of the spectrum. These are characters that utilize a lot of different stats to compound their damage, and it makes it a lot easier to find not perfect artifacts, but at least workable artifacts. Most damage dealers fall somewhere in between these two extremes. Most characters have a desirable substat pool consisting of one primary scaling stat like attack or HP, and then crit rate and crit damage, and finally EM or ER, or sometimes both. Aside from the difference in desired substats, one other major difference between farming for Xiangling and Wanderer is that Xiangling uses the Emblem of Severed Fate set, which is a set that's available from the Artifact Strongbox. This means that even if we find an artifact that's not desirable, we can recycle it to give us another chance at finding something better. One thing that newer players might not know about the Artifact Strongbox is that it actually has a significantly higher chance of generating a 4-line artifact compared to artifact domains. Roughly 1 in 5 artifacts you get from domain runs will start with 4 substats. This rate is increased to about 1 in 3 for artifacts you get from the Strongbox. So not only does using the Strongbox give you a second or third chance at rolling a desirable artifact, but it also statistically produces better artifacts.
Just like
when you concept artifacts you get from the
just like world bosses and weekly bosses, if I remember correctly.
But it also statistically produces better artifacts.
And Abyss, yeah. Abyss also gives you better odds.
When you compound these two benefits together, we end up cutting our farming time by a pretty significant amount. Let's see what our build progression for Xiangling looks like when I enable the usage of the Strongbox. This means that after we're done farming and upgrading our artifacts, we recycle all the artifacts that we didn't upgrade, and look for new artifacts to upgrade out of those that come out of the Strongbox. Then we keep repeating this process until there are no more artifacts left to recycle. And this is what we get. At the end of the 20 weeks, we're about 2.4% stronger than if we hadn't used the Strongbox. And this alone doesn't sound very impressive. But rather than looking at how much stronger we got, I'm a lot more interested from a resin efficiency perspective in finding out how much faster we hit the same stat benchmarks compared to when we weren't using the Strongbox. In the original simulation we ran with Xiangling, we achieved about 90% of our 20-week goal in about 6 weeks. If we compare that against the run where we did use the Strongbox, we're now able to achieve that somewhere in between 4 and 5 weeks instead. Let's just call that 4.5 weeks. If we're aiming for that 10-week benchmark like I mentioned earlier, or about 95% of the power of our 20-week goal, the Strongbox allows us to hit this benchmark somewhere between week 7 and 8 instead. Again, let's just call that 7.5 weeks. In total, we save about 2.5 weeks worth of resin on farming artifacts. This is 2.5 weeks worth of resin we can use to start building a new character sooner, or work on other parts of our build, maybe even clear the Spiral Abyss that much sooner. The point is, being able to obtain extra artifacts with the Strongbox cuts down our farming time by a really big amount. If we look at week 14 of our Strongbox assisted run, we've already hit.
I don't know how I feel about this, because between weeks like 3 and 15, you basically shouldn't be using the Strongbox. Like, if you're early enough into your character building that your character, like, you're still looking for the right main stats, or for, like, a flower that isn't completely useless or something like that, Strongbox is good. But once you have decent enough artifacts, using Strongbox instead of using your 5-star artifacts as artifact XP is so not great. Yeah, I mean, maybe if you do, maybe you do artifact routes. You know what? Fair. Call it. You got me. I don't do my artifact routes. You got me. I don't do them. I think early on you have a major surplus of XP from exploration. Not enough to build 8 characters.
The 20-week benchmark from the original simulation where we weren't using the Strongbox. On average, we're hitting the same stat benchmarks approximately 1.4 times faster as a result of using the Strongbox. Another way to think about this is that the Strongbox multiplies our resin efficiency by about 1.4x, which is a huge factor. Because of this, using the Strongbox is the single most impactful thing you can do to improve your resin efficiency when farming artifacts. Please do not feed your +0 5-star artifacts for artifact experience. Hold on to them, run them through the artifact Strongbox for other sets that you need, and you will save yourself weeks or months worth of resin over time.
That's good for late game players and for very early game players. But again, right, mid game players, it's... if you don't do artifact routes, this isn't really good advice. How would you define mid game players? Basically, once you have your characters built with the right main stats and decent enough artifacts and you're moving on to the next character, you need some fucking XP to level your new stuff. Right? Like, and you just don't have enough fodder to level all your stuff. And yeah, you can just not use them as artifact XP, but if that's what happens, you just won't level your artifacts, and you'll... okay, cool, you have a nice looking +0 artifact, and you don't have the XP to upgrade it. Did you ever do routes? I did routes when I started the Taiwan account. I did them for like 2 months or something. I'm never doing them again.
I know some newer players might be hesitant to use the Strongbox because it feels like you're losing a lot of artifact experience by not feeding those 5 stars instead, but please trust me when I say this, the resin that you save from using the Strongbox is going to be infinitely more valuable than the experience that those 5 stars would be worth. Let's just consider...
so, again, right, like, that's cool and all, but... right? Even looking at this, right? Cool, okay. If you Strongbox... right? If you Strongbox, you'll be lacking 2% of your damage after 20 weeks. Sorry, if you don't Strongbox, you'll be lacking 2% of your damage after 20 weeks. You'll also actually have a Singto that's at fucking 90% of his potential as well, instead of at fucking 20%, because all of his artifacts are +0, right? Like, it's... I think, in general, most people should use a Strongbox at some point in their account. But I don't think it's great general advice of never use your 5 stars as fodder. Because a lot of people, right, care about having their characters built earlier rather than having one more crit roll 20 weeks from now. Right? But anyways.
experience that those 5 stars would be worth. Let's just consider the scarcity of the two resources. You can come across artifact experience in a lot of different ways.
I trash my artifacts for Mora. Please don't do that. I am actually begging you. That is a terrible thing to do. Just farm ley lines once in a while. Don't trash artifacts for Mora. I am begging you.
This game. You can get it from your teapot, you can get it through exploration, from the 4-star and 3-star artifacts that you get from the domain runs. Over time, you will very naturally accumulate an abundance of artifact experience. Resin, on the other hand, not so much. Extra resin is very difficult to come by, and that is intended by the game's design. Resin is one of the 2 premium resources in this game that ultimately gate your progress, the other one of course being Fates, or more generally Primogems. At a very basic level, Fates allow you to expand your character roster, and Resin allows you to strengthen your character roster. So given that Resin is one of these 2 premium progression gating resources, as I like to call it, it's really important to use every tool that you can to make the most of your Resin. And the Artifact Strongbox is exactly one of these tools that can really add a lot of additional value to the Resin that you spend. One last thing I wanted to look at is what this build progression looks like for a character that cares about only one stat. A prime example that many players already...
right, this is good advice once you have built characters already, right? But for a lot of people, that's not the case yet.
know about is Kuki Shinobu, when she's built as a Hyperbloom carry who only cares about maximizing her EM. And this is what her stat progression looks like. What we see is that her progression is even more front-loaded than Xiangling's.
Okay, this I don't like, right? It's even worse to use time as a measure of when to stop farming for a character like Kuki than it is for a character like Xiangling, because you just stop once you get the main stat, you know? Like, the average is even less meaningful when it's literally just a yes or no, right? It doesn't matter what the substats are, just yes or no. Have you gotten the stat yet or not?
After just 1 week of farming, we've already achieved 74% of the damage we would output at week 20, and by week 4 we're already at 90%. Understanding why this happens is kind of related to the first major lesson that we learned, and it's that the artifact main stat makes up the bulk of its stat budget. And as it happens, EM is available as a main stat on 3 different pieces: the Sands, Goblet, and Circlet. Once you find these 3 pieces with that EM main stat on them,
I had
there
to
really
stay
isn't
in flop for 2 weeks. Don't. Okay, to be fair, right? Like, I talk about being stuck in flop for 6 months, but like, the reality of it is I wasn't stuck. I didn't have to stay in the flop domain. I could have used an offset goblet, right? I had a Sands and a Circlet after like 3 weeks as well, right? But I had 124 EM on my Gilded Dreams flower, and I wanted to use that. And that's why I stayed. Right? I didn't have to. But I wanted to.
that much more room to improve the build. The only way you can get more EM is from the substats of the flower and plume, but those are relatively small increases in EM that are going to take a much longer time. So it's a combination of the fact that Kuki only needs EM, and that she doesn't need to spend extra time looking for better substats on those 3 pieces that allows her to ramp up her damage so quickly. In general, characters that have mono stat builds like this are extremely resin efficient to build. Zhongli, most Anemo supports, and the damage augmenting family of supports are some other characters that fall under this category. These types of characters are really valuable to have in a new player's roster because they add a lot of value to your team without requiring a large rebel to have supports. Are some
But Zhongli doesn't scale with HP. You don't need to build him with HP to get a big shield. Now, this is kind of fake. Like, my Zhongli shield, my Goblet on Zhongli was plus 16 for like almost 3 years. And my shield didn't break, you know? Like, you don't need to farm for him. It barely matters. The only reason why I ended up actually getting it to plus 20 is because I wanted to compare his defensive utility to Sing So against the Tulpa. And I thought it wasn't fair if I compared it with a plus 16. But also, these aren't true. Like, Sucrose, sure. Shenhe and Yunjin, definitely not. Yunjin is one of the hardest characters in the game to farm for. Like, you care about defense and ER, and if you don't have Fav, you're not going to have a pleasant experience with Yunjin. And if you do have Fav, you also care about crit rate.
Some other characters that fall under this category. These types of characters are really valuable to have in a new player's roster because they add a lot of value to your team without requiring a large resin investment to start being effective. This is a big part of the reason why characters like Zhongli and Kazuha are used on so many different teams by a lot of different players. Of course, the main reason is that they have very strong generalized kits that allow them to fit into many different teams, but cost to build and time to find viable artifacts is an often overlooked but important factor, especially if you're a new player. If you are a veteran player and you've been playing Genshin for a long time, you probably don't care much about resin optimization anymore. You probably have a lot of weapons already at 90, an overabundance of Ascension materials, and lots of plus 20 artifacts that are just waiting for the right character to come and pick them up. But if you're a relatively new player who's just starting to get into the mid or late game, I'm sure you can already feel that resin is an extremely limiting factor to your character's progress. And starting at AR45, the resin that you need to spend on artifact farming is a big part of that challenge.
Okay, I think, like, if he's aiming this video at, you know, mid-game players, it makes it even worse, no? Because, like, when I started my Taiwan account, right, I truly realized artifact XP is the one true gating thing early on, right? Like, you use all your fragile at AR45 on an artifact domain, and you don't even have enough XP to level up all the good pieces that you get from that. The day one of AR45. I was doing artifact routes every day, and I still didn't have enough artifact experience to upgrade all the artifacts I wanted to. Right? So I feel like the don't you, like, never feed 5-star artifacts as XP is like, I don't know, man.
With that having been said, I hope this video and the key takeaways that we covered gave you a better idea of how you should approach artifact farming in a way that allows you to get the most out of what limited resin you have. For a lot of people watching, there's a good chance you're already familiar with the concepts that we discussed. Prioritize main stats, focus on substats later.
I spent 100 fragile resin on my Asia alt once I got to Emblem and got 0 good sets. See, that's not true. Okay? Like, I gotta be honest with you. You're lying. You're wrong. Okay? Your standards are too high. Let me actually log into my Taiwan account and show you one of the artifacts that I got. I hope I didn't end up feeding it later on. But show you one of the artifacts that I got and that I used for a pretty long time. That I got at AR45 from my initial farming. I don't know if I hope I still have it. Well, I was wondering when the flexing would start. Trust me, this is not a flex. Fuck! I don't have it anymore. No! Okay, well, never mind then. I had an attack circlet. That ended up with, like, 15 CV. And I used it, and I was happy with it. And it's like, don't show your circlets, please. Why? Do you not want to see this? Why? Does this make you angry? What? Like, do you experience negative emotions when you see artifacts like these? Does it make you sad? Does it make you jealous? What? What about this one? You like this one? Hmm. Oh well. Oh well. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Oh. Not a flex? I mean, it wasn't supposed to be a flex, but then you guys asked for a flex.
Not exactly a novel idea considering how long theory crafting in this game has been around. But even if you are a veteran player, I hope the visualizations of the stat progression and the ability to quantify just exactly how much stronger we're getting per resin spent was still a valuable takeaway. At least for me, these were the kind of findings that motivated me to write this program and make this video in the first place. Regardless of how far you are into Genshin, I hope you learned at least one new thing from watching this video. As always, thank you so much for watching.
So I think there is valuable information in this video. I just think that it's presented in a way that kind of misses the point of a lot of it. Right? Does this video not mention that when farming for a character, you can get pieces for other characters? No, because I think the main point is to look for characters where you're farming a specific set just for them, right? But yeah, like, it's... If someone has never seen their video and they just farm for artifacts until they have artifacts they're happy with, I think the average player is going to be a fucking stupid idiot and stay in a domain for way too long. Right? So I appreciate what he's trying to do with it, which is like help people understand that after a certain amount of time spent in a domain, it just stops being resin efficient, and you'd be significantly better off moving on to maybe crowning your, or maybe like getting your, I mean at some point getting your Cosmos skill and burst to level 9 is more resin efficient than farming for a better artifact on your carry. For my account, it is. I just don't give a shit because I think that farming for talents are boring. But one of the most resin efficient things I could do for my account is farming for Cosmos skill and burst. Even though it's not that big of a portion of his damage, even though I don't build him for those and I build him mostly for EM, the talent level still matters to how much damage they do. And yeah, like it's a good point, and it's good for a lot of people to know. However, the breakpoint isn't 10 weeks. It's how good the artifacts are, right? I'm farming for an Navia 4-piece and I still can't find an attack stance or Geogolda with not full HP or defense rolls. Yeah, like, that's a good example, right? On average, you'll have a 10 CV attack stance after a couple months of farming, or sorry, a 20 CV attack stance after a couple months of farming the Navia domain. But you're not the average, and you haven't gotten one yet.
Off we go.
And so, farming the domain is still relatively resin efficient for you. Because you can still get maybe a 1 substat upgrade on a lot of your pieces, but on your sands, you can get a 4 substat upgrade incredibly easily. But yeah.
Adventure time.
Okay-ish business. What day of the week are we, chat? Well, where's Sunday? Okay-ish. Let's go farm for our Lucano. Okay, how many books do you need to triple crown? Any knowers? $114 purples. She's boss locked? I know, but still. Ah, no, what, no.
Oh, ow. Where did that come from?
So, 114 purples, 63 blues.
Off we go.
I have 31. I need to keep, wait. How many of these do I need? 9, okay. And I need to keep 63 of these. Alright, so that's... yeah. Isn't this... I don't know, it's a bit of a high roll, but not that much. Okay, so I'm missing about 40. I guess skill levels don't matter that much, so I can go like 10, 6, 10 or something. First levels also don't matter. But, so maybe 10, 8, 8 or 10, 7, 10, 9, 9. But I'm still gonna farm for them. 10, 1, 1. Wait, wouldn't it be funny if I went 10, 1, 1 again? Ah, shit. Fuck! Now, what if I went for for C3 so I can go 13, 1, 1? Oh. Yeah. Go for R4 as well. Why R4? Why don't you put exclamation mark drops on your stream title to attract more Andes? Because Andes don't make me happy. Only real chatters like you make me happy. Bro. Am I your favorite charter? Well, I don't know any other charters, so I'm sure you are.
The pleasure is all mine.
Although I do like the Charte des droits et libertés. So maybe you're my second favorite charter.
Settle down. Gather.
I don't want to use my burst.
Silence.
On aime nos droits. True. Whoa, Pog. I got a purple. Very nice. Riveting gameplay, thank you. How is that still not enough? Thank you for the raid. Maya AC. I'm probably butchering that. +1. We know the new Charizard animation. I don't know if that's true, honestly. It smells like a fake leak to me.
Be sanctified. Settle down.
Yes, Brastel, I did know. We'll see tomorrow? Yeah, we'll see tomorrow. As a general rule, I don't trust leaks that come out on a Sunday.
Solidify. The tides beckon. Settle down.
Why? Because Monday is the new beta cycle. And if it's like on Tuesday, I'm like, well, I'll have to wait like 6 days before I know if this is true. I don't wanna. I'll just pretend like it's true and look at the implications of it, whatever, cool. But if it's on a Sunday, it's just like, just fucking wait 1 day, man. We'll know tomorrow. Right? Thank you for the Prime, Mia Kitty. Can I get a poggers in chat for our Prime? I don't know why I'm like this.
Settle down.
It's what does Arlecchino need, in your opinion, to make her better? Just raw damage, so better multipliers? Okay, so I've already talked about the burst. But it's not even that she needs it, right? It's just that it feels like shit to have to build 40% ER. And it feels even worse to have to build like 60%. Like, you don't want to build DR on Gumming. You don't want to build DR on Diluc. You don't want to build DR on any of these characters because it just feels like shit. Okay? Their burst sucks. It's only there because, I don't want to have to build DR around that. Around 35%. It depends on the team. Right? But in some teams, it's real fucking high. But yeah, anyways. So I hope they change that, right? Give it the 10 months. Hey, it's Muffin. But what does she need? I mean... Right now, she's incredibly squishy. and she doesn't have enough damage to really make up for that downside, right? So either you make her less squishy, or you give her more damage, right? Is there like, you know, actually cope? She's not cope, it's just... she's small Hu Tao, you know? How bad is the squishiness? Is it Sino level? No, because Sino can heal. No, she is the squishiest character we've ever had. Because she literally cannot heal. Right? Most teams end up slotting in a healer just because healers tend to also be good unit. And she will still slot in fucking Bennett in a lot of her teams. But she can't heal. She can't heal. She also has no resistance to interruption, yeah. And like, the only way that you can heal mid-rotation is to finish your rotation, right? Effectively, if you get hit by something and you're low HP, if you want to heal, that's the end of your rotation, right? Right. Gotta grab this. See so many people mulling about the geolocal legend boss in Abyss, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean... I think it could be squishier, right? But also, like... it's so much better than shit like Wolf Lord, right? Like, so fucking much.
Gather. Let the mighty be humbled. Huh.
Oh well. I think versus other characters, there's no way to kind of condense defensive comfort without sacrificing massive amounts of damage. Yeah, like... for a lot of characters, they have defensive options available to their teams that also synergize well and do something relevant, right? But, like, she has the ability to do short rotations, which makes her not as synergistic with Xingqiu, right?
Stabilize. Bow your head.
Wind strike.
And
We'll talk. Settle down.
she doesn't heal, so it makes her a lot less synergistic with units like Bennett as well, right? Where the fuck is... what's up? Oh. Why do you think they didn't give her a bond of life multiplier to her charge on plunge attacks? Plunge attacks because Shannon is already her best team. Honestly. And I don't know why for the charge attacks, honestly. Made it to try to incentivize non-vape teams.
Ad Astra. Thank you for
Maybe they should just get rid of the no healing passive and make her get twice as much bond of life. I don't know. I mean, that wouldn't solve her. I mean, twice as much would be too much, I think. You could do something like that, though. Right? Get rid of her no healing passive so she actually can't be played with healers. Right? Make her unable to be played with Bennett. Make her a lot worse with Chevreuse. But actually increase her damage enough that she's still good without them. Could be fine. Or are you gonna pull for her if she has problems? Why wouldn't I? Buddy, I have a triple crown Dea. That's never stopped me before. You could play Chevreuse without her skill. Yeah, you'd lose on the 40% attack, but that might still be worth it. Interesting idea.
Melusines are beautiful creatures. They are the pride of Fontaine. Be sure to befriend them and cause them no harm.
Chat, why does someone at me in Arabic at the end of a post in English that they made? I'm confused. I don't speak Arabic. Why did you at me in... What? Use translator. Oh no, I can. Twitter has a fucking translate button. Like it's fine. It's just I am confused why they would. They basically said, "What are your opinions on the matter?" Zajef. In Arabic. But I don't speak. What? The rest of her post is in English! I cannot. I mean, we can answer it on stream. I don't mind. So someone quote retweeted an Arlecchino showcase thing. What I really hate about Genshin is, yeah, the character looks good, the character does damage, but what does the character bring to the table? I love that in Star Rail, most characters have their uniqueness, but in Genshin, it's all the same thing, just different models. Aside from whether you love the character or not, what's the reason you'd pull for Arlecchino rather than Hu Tao or Lenny if you want a pyro DPS? I guess it's because of the lack of endgame content. Genshin characters would carry more value to them had there been different scenarios to each situations you get into with different mechanisms like endless waves in certain domains, like Pure Fiction and Star Rail. What are your opinions on this? Don't take this the wrong way, but what the fuck is the point of pulling for Jinyuan if you already have Kafka? Like, that problem is even worse in Star Rail. Whenever it's their turn, you use their skill. That is the gameplay of these characters. And when your old button is shiny, you click on it. Right? The units in Star Rail don't play different from one another in most situations. Whereas in Genshin, units actually do have different playstyles. In any case, though, I definitely understand I think that comparing it to Star Rail isn't a good idea because Star Rail has the same issue in a way that I think is worse. But that's still a fair criticism. Like, what is the point of going for Arlecchino over... Someone might find follow-up attacks satisfying but not dots. Yeah, but it's literally just because you want to find them satisfying or not. Follow-up attacks are literally just another attack. Anyways. As I was saying, right? Like, it's fair if you're like, okay... What's the point of pulling for, like, you know, over a character like Hu Tao and Lenny? I think that if they lean more into the low HP vulnerability stuff, and they make her deal more damage, you could say, yeah, I mean, she's stronger, but harder to play. You actually have to dodge a lot more with her. You can't mitigate her downsides as easily as you can on some of the other characters. I think that's kind of the intended design, but right now, I think it's a very fair criticism. Right? Because she's not stronger, she's just... yeah. Non-DC related question, what's your opinion on the conspiracy theory about Hoyoverse being intentionally generous with Star Rail but stingy with Genshin to figure out a balance to maximize profits for future games? I think it's stupid to think that they're trying both out to see which works better. Right? Like, no, buddy, they know. They already know. But it's very true that they are intentionally stingy with Genshin and generous with Star Rail. It's just not because they're trying both out to see what works better, but because there's a lot of competition for turn-based gacha games, and Star Rail doesn't do anything all that different from other turn-based gacha games that actually warrants it being more popular, other than the fact that it's from Hoyo, right? It's effectively... Star Rail isn't even a good turn-based game, right? Its generosity is because it's a... Giving shit away is a good way to retain your player base in a gacha game. Genshin isn't generous because they don't need to be to retain their player base. Who the fuck is gonna quit Genshin for Epic 7? Right? Like, be honest. Right? Like, who the fuck is gonna quit Genshin for Epic 7? Right? Or any other turn-based god. Like, it... Look, Kari did... Okay. But other than, like... Most of Genshin's player base only plays one gacha game, and it's Genshin. And it doesn't have enough competition for them to need to be generous. They're generous in Star Rail because if they weren't generous, people wouldn't play Star Rail over the other turn-based alternatives on the market. Ratio and 5-star selector aside, I don't think Star Rail is that much more generous. Fair, but also, like, it isn't actually about how... Again, right, like, they're not generous because they want to be generous, they're generous because it's good PR. If they can make you feel like they're generous without actually being generous, that's even better. Right? The ways in which Star Rail is generous are very in-your-face obvious, right? And to be fair, you can't just say, well, yeah, aside from Ratio, they're not that generous, because Ratio's kind of a big deal, you know? Right? Like, Ratio is an actually good carry. That is competitive with the best options in the game in the content he's good at, right? Which is, like, very single target stuff. Mods. Right? And, like, that's pretty big, right? Like, yeah. Like, Ratio's effectively a free, like, 90 pulls-ish. Which is about the average that it takes to get a limited 5-star. But yeah, I do think that... I mean, we watched a video about the generosity in Star Rail versus Genshin recently, and they made a very valid point, which is... Giving out Ratio is a double-edged sword because it raised people's expectations, and that's why the reaction to the anniversary rewards in Star Rail has been so lukewarm, right? They're pretty normal anniversary rewards for a gacha game. But people are disappointed because their expectations were raised by Ratio, right? They expected Star Rail to keep giving a lot of stuff. They set the bar real fucking high, yeah. I don't think the rewards are bad. I mean, personally, I think the very concept of anniversary rewards is kind of dumb. Right? But if you look at it objectively in terms of how much the rewards are, it's basically as much as Genshin's rewards, right? People memed the 3 wishes for Genshin, but there was also wishes obtained from, like, the login event and shit like that, right? And Genshin doesn't usually get login events, right? Login events in Genshin are rare. And usually the wishes that you get from playing the game, you get them through exploration, and there's a lot more exploration to be done in Genshin than Star Rail. There's a lot more primos available on the map in Genshin than Star Rail, right? And so it was basically a plus 13 right? Whereas with Star Rail, it's basically a plus 20 because they always get a login event, right? That's part of the premium currency budgeting is a login event. And if your anniversary rewards are not much better than Genshin's, they're not that great, you know? $13 was Lantern, right? Anniversary was 20. Oh, my bad. I was more intrigued by the 300% event. Yeah, the 300% event is basically 16 fuel, right? It's cool. I think that when there's a limit to it, it's kind of dumb. But it's still kind of cool. You know, like, alright. All I guess. It'll feel fun for one day. The amount of time that it's going to take you to run out of the event, basically. And then it'll be like, well, it's done now. What now? What next? If it wasn't limited, it'll be toxic. They could have limited in a way that isn't just fucking 12 total for the duration of the event, which makes the event feel incredibly boring. And instead have it be limited to 6 times a day. Right? Because that's... Right? They're 40 power. So you can do 6 in a day. Right? Just... limited to 6 times a day that you get triple, so that if you refresh, it doesn't actually get you more. Anyways. It's still limited? Yeah, but it effectively is only limited in a way that makes it so that refreshing doesn't make it... Like, if you refresh, you don't get the 3 times for the refreshed amount, right? But... it's just... basically, the event being over after 2 days is very boring. There's a woman in the Star Rail stream who was tagged as a gameplay designer, and it was like, there's gameplay in Star Rail. Okay, to be fair, Star Rail has done a lot of... like, you can tell if you've played Penacony, they've tried really hard with a lot of the new enemies to actually introduce gameplay in the game, right? The base gameplay of the game is incredibly fucking boring. But when you add enemies that interact with you in interesting ways, it makes it a lot less boring, right? The TVs that every time you hit them, they change form. And if they're between happy and angry, if they're angry, they do damage to your whole team and steal your energy. And if they're happy, they give you energy and don't deal damage to you, right? So you need to make sure that they're happy when it's their turn. That's good. That's a good thing. That's great. The dinosaur that if you hit him 6 times, he goes bleh. That's great. That's Pog. Yeah, the meme as well. It's kind of like, it's cool. And even the upcoming enemies, we have like they've revealed stuff about the Avanzarin boss that actually looks kind of fun, right? Enemies that have more depth to a shallow combat system is always not. Yeah, exactly, right? They kind of did something similar with a maiden that requires 9 hits, but that was yeah, like that one didn't work because 9 hits is too many for you to actually reasonably get, right? 6 hits is actually low enough that you can manage it, right? And you can plan around it. 9 hits is too much, right? So even though the mechanic is effectively the same, the way that it's balanced makes it feel more engaging. Deals less damage, yeah, sure, but so you get the point, right? It's like, yeah. How did I do a plunge attack here? Like, how did I jump high enough to do a plunge attack? Can anyone tell me? Whatever. Maybe that just felt like jumping higher. Ooh, new usage rate post, Pog. We can take a look at it. Chiori 50%. Man, Gumming is yeah, aware. Looks like Chiori Navia teams are quite popular. Yeah. I used Gumming, so did I! Where's the Luke?
Water comes in many flavors to the discerning palate. Mondstadt's water is crisp and pure, while water from Liyue...
Gumming is so good first half. Is he?
In Inazuma, the water possesses...
You know, I would, like, I did a 4-star clear yesterday, and I specifically thought Gumming wouldn't be able to get past first half. But I guess if you're playing a vape team, it's fine. It's just... I saw this, and I was like, you know what? No thank you. My Rosario will not be able to do enough damage to kill this motherfucker. Logan is always surprised as he always sees Sucrose so low. Yeah, people, like, again, right? The reason why I talk about how good Sucrose is because people actually don't know, okay? A lot of people actually don't know that Sucrose is good. How do they not know it's so obvious? They're not terminally online like you and me. They touch grass. Why is Fischl so low? Honestly, same reason. I love that Baiju consistently ranks really high just because no one wished for him. So the only people that have him are people that really like him. It's so funny. Okay, chat. I'm kind of down to do a run of Abyss. With this. This. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm actually gonna go cringe mode and put TTDS on Sucrose.
I see the value in...
We do a video summary of what teams are the best. I feel like this rotation is much higher DPS check than the last one. I couldn't only clear with 2 teams. Yeah, it is higher DPS check. There's definitely more than 2 teams I can clear. Like, I did clear with 4 stars only, but it was a bit more of a challenge, for sure. Probably want to play Kazuha. Do I? What's up? Kind of don't, actually. It's not, it is. Again, the DPS check isn't just how much HP the enemies have in total, right? It's how much damage you need to deal. And a lot of characters don't have the ability to deal damage to all of the enemies at the same time in this Abyss. An AoE check is still a DPS check if you need a lot of DPS in AoE. You know? Have you seen this? Yeah, I have. This is an old clip. I don't know why he's posting. He doesn't even have Twitter Blue. Why is he farming engagement like this? Like, hello? This clip is old. Why are you farming engagement, man? You don't even have Twitter... But it's not Twitter Blue anymore. You don't even have a check mark. Yeah, whatever. God, it's time for me to play my 2 comfort teams. These are my 2 comfort teams. If I could only play 2 teams for the rest of my life, it would be these 2.
The tides beckon. Silence!
We meet at last, Madeline. Did I scare you?
I see everything. Share my knowledge.
Bow your head. Be sanctified.
How can consider it me? Savor the show in peace.
Settle down.
Now, does anyone have the I can't see Ziox meme? It's such a good one.
Beckon.
I love it. Oops. Because, like, it's basically this abyss in a nutshell.
Banquet must go on.
Bow your head.
I have. Race you. Witness the power. Nice spike. Absorption test. And
Time to act.
everybody stand.
Let me weave you a burst.
I don't want to use burst again.
Let's light it up. No, my sword.
Stand clear.
Oh.
Illusion shut. Hey. Let's get it off.
No, I don't have the energy.
Be sanctified.
I could do the, like, ooh, but it's so cringe.
Settle down.
Everyone hold hands.
Silence.
Whatever, man.
Hey. Share my knowledge. Buckle up.
The tides beckon. Bow your head.
Okay. What's the best way to cheese my way through the early game with the free characters on MOMC? Instructor set, yeah, main stat, on MOMC. By far the best way to cheese your way through the early game.
Body and witness the power.
Going in. Bubba. Get. Swirl. Mark. Eat this.
Rain outlines your fate. No, my
Start off with, ooh, what the fuck? My mouse left the window, dude! Ugh, okay. That's bullshit.
Let me weave you a burst. Rain outlines your fate.
Whatever, I'm not happy with that.
Let's light it up.
Just gotta wait a little bit, it's fine.
Rain cutter.
Everybody stand. Bubba. Get. Absorption.
Yep.
No, my sword. Body and rain outlines your fate.
Stand clear. Animal testing.
I'm dying of cringe, bro. It's so cringe how much your
Stand clear.
rhythm gets fucked up when you're playing a game and your mouse decides to fly out of your window. Like, ugh. Ugh. I hate it.
Settle down.
Committed to memory. The Temple of Wisdom. Book alive. Lots
That's not what I wanted to do, but okay.
Sanctified. Silence.
Oh my god. I lost a charge attack. That is a friend.
Make yourselves at home.
The time's beckoning. An oversight.
Oh well. Oh well. Okay, so yeah, we want to use Bennett for this because his we got lucky.
Adventure time. Witness the power of the wild. Teamwork is dreamwork.
Nova, get them. Animal test 6308.
No, my Globus Swirl! I didn't know it did that. What the fuck?
Outlines your fate. Body
No! What do you mean? No! That's not okay! Oh, fuck off!
Let me lead you a verse.
Everybody stand. Nice and absorption test. You're toast.
Whatever.
Rain outlines your fate. Let's light it.
Whatever, man. Finally a boss that counters Globus Dude! It's kind of fucking, yeah, I honestly, I think it's a good thing, but still, I got, god damn, I got pranked. Oh. Man. Oh well. Oh well. You gonna sign up for the next EZZ beta? Yeah. I already have. I saw it on my feed this morning. Ugh. ZZZ badge? Yeah, that's fair, honestly. ZZZ badge indeed. Are you doing Locha? Nope. I'm a Locha skipper. I regret it already, but... Dude, I barely have fucking one good win set. I don't have 4. I can't. I need to go for characters that don't use win set, dude. Cause I can't gear them. He's gonna be at like 150 speed. Ew. Disgusting.
Water comes in many flavors to
Like, what the fuck?
Mondstadt's water is crisp and pure, while water from Liyue has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma, the water possesses a depth of flavor unlike
Just do Rainbow with 160? That's worse than Winset with 150!
complex flavor profile.
Multiplication? I'm already assuming that.
Fully appreciated.
Just imagine. Locha, but you don't have Winset. Yeah. Locha but you don't even have 160 speed. Ah! Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you use Windset? Because it's his best in slot? What? What do you mean, why would you use Windset? Hello! I don't have Windset plus 160 speed. I do, but only on one character so far.
I see the value in my own work.
Is Windset best in slot on Bailu too? Windset is best in slot on everyone. True! I don't know. I don't know how often Bailu ults. I never played her and I'd never intend on playing her. How much speed do you need for Windset? Yes. Is speed the EM of Star Rail? No. Speed is the ER of Star Rail. But not really, because more speed is always more good. I don't know. Speed is just... There's no stat that's like speed in Genshin. As a fellow speed lover, your infatuation with the wind is fascinating. Would you use the unit's ult immediately after you get their ult? I mean, you always use it before it's their turn again, yes, but not always immediately after you get it. It depends. There is an exception. When I use Sparkle on Windset with DDD in a team that has her and Bronya, her first ult is generally on her own turn, because otherwise what ends up happening is, because she's on Vonwak and Bronya's on Vonwak, if I dance both of them, or if I dance both of them, they end up acting so fast that Sparkle's E isn't enough to bring the carry to act before Bronya. So I have to wait until it's Sparkle's turn and then use it, so that Bronya doesn't get advanced forward too much, and neither does Sparkle, so that there's still, like, so that the carry's not so far behind that I can't get him to yeah. Anyways.
Water comes in many flavors.
Anyways.
To a discerning palate. Mondstadt's water is crisp and pure, while water from Liyue has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma, the water possesses a depth of flavor unlike any other. Sumeru's water, meanwhile, has a rich and complex flavor profile.
Joe Biden moment. What do you mean, Joe Biden moment? Hello, Zajef. I've been watching your YouTube videos and I find you entertaining. First time catching the stream. Thank you for the paid chat. And welcome to the stream, Amentia42. I hope you enjoy your stay. Do you think they'll do something to make Kazuha less viable? I hate him and I want him to suffer. Probably not.
see the value in my own work, but I also see the meaning in all the...
I mean, maybe they just make a bunch more units like Nevillet that don't give a shit about
I
grouping.
will continue to take pride in fulfilling my duties.
But they make them Geo. So you don't even want Kazan on your team. Maybe that's the play. Isn't that Noel? Okay, also make them good. Alright, I kind of forgot that. I forgot about that part. My bad. Uh... What path will 5-star March 7th follow? I hope she's Nihility. Is it confirmed that she's not Preservation? I thought they said that instead of swapping path, you swap memories or some shit. It's too vague to tell, yeah, maybe.
Melusines are beautiful creatures. They are the pride of Fontaine. Be sure to befriend them and cause them no harm.
True. Do we watch Sevi's Abyss guide? I'm kind of down. See what she thought of the Abyss.
Hey everyone, it's Sevi. Welcome to my guide on how to beat floor 11.
As usual for these, here is the link. Make sure you right-click the video, loop, right-click the tab, mute. Do not mute the video player. Leave it running in the background, please. And thank you.
And 12 of the 4.5 cycle, where we get to see a lot of familiar faces like the Terror Shroom, Capelia and Capelius, and Shadowy Husks. Surprisingly, we also get the mech local legend that lets everyone be Shao for a few minutes, so that's a fun change. Anyway, as usual, this video discusses strategies and tips to help you beat the chambers more easily. Let me just flash some general reminders before you tackle Spiral Abyss, which you can pause to take a quick read. This Abyss blessing favors Geo by unleashing a shockwave when you create a Geo construct, up to once every 6 seconds. So starting with floor 11, its buff is a 75% Geo damage bonus, clearly to favor the ongoing Geo banners. Both halves are largely AoE focused. The most notable enemies in the first half are the Hydro Phantasms in the third chamber,
We can
as
skip
they
floor
are
11,
immune
I
to
think.
Hydro and
Let's go to floor 12.
In the first half, having a Hydro or Electro unit is recommended as they are the fastest at breaking Pyro and Dendro shields respectively, which you'll encounter in the first chamber. Having an Animo crowd controller will also be great in the first 2 chambers for easy grouping. Freeze can also be a crowd control option, but
Yeah, I'm gonna remove the subtitles because there's actually like things on screen that we have to see. Yeah.
Just note that the final chamber boss cannot be frozen. Unfortunately, shielding can work against you here since the husk enemies gain their own buffs if they attack you with a shield active, so it'll prolong the fight. It's preferable to use a healer here instead. For the second half, Quicken can help in the first chamber against the Terror Shroom, but it's not that necessary as you can just brute force it with any team. The more significant consideration is the last chamber. Hey everyone, it's Sevi. Welcome to my guide on how to Terror Shroom, but it's not that necessary as you can just brute force it with any team. The more significant consideration is the last chamber boss, which
Okay,
has a
cool, I
strong
guess.
geo shield. As long as you have a melee unit, you can use plunging attacks to destroy the shield with blunt damage, since its gravity reduction allows you to do high jumps. Generally, you can get away with this, as I'll demonstrate later on. More convenient alternatives can be Zhongli, whose hold skill and burst reduce a huge portion of its shield health, geo units in general whose geo attacks are also effective against it, and claymore users and plunge attackers for the blunt damage. And of course, have strong
Wait, I
enough healing
forgot we can jump. Smartest chatter.
or shielding to keep you alive. I'll be using the same teams for this floor. Starting with the first chamber half, if you have a Hydro or Electro unit, you can quickly destroy the Pyro Mage's and Breacher's shields. And if you have an Animal unit, you can swirl the Pyro Aura of the Mage's shield onto the Breachers to help destroy their Dendro shields. You should ideally be dealing AoE damage to the Breachers, but if not, then you can just brute force with single target damage.
Witness the power. Everybody stand back. Let's
Boba, get them! Eat this!
Star Realm moment,
Next
true.
are two operatives. And I guess one
True.
thing to note is that their HP bars are actually reversed from where you started, just in case you might lose track of who you're dealing damage to. I prefer focusing on the one with the right HP bar who's on the left of the battlefield.
Okay, you know,
because the other
one thing I will say is, I think it's a completely terrible dog shit idea to have static HP bars at the top of your screen instead of HP bars on top of the enemies when the enemies aren't really big, because it's so. Do you know where they are? Like, I have paused the. Do you know where they are? Do you know which one is low? Fuck no, bro. Can't see. I can't see. I can't see. John, I can't see me, man. Fuck. Just learn their names? Doesn't their name literally change every time you do it?
one tends to charge towards you anyway, so that can easily group them together. Be careful of the frost
This one? Yes! Me trying to figure out where the fuck the Fatui operatives are in 12.1.1.
operative as they can melt or freeze you if you apply Pyro or Hydro to yourself. It's preferable to deal AoE damage to them simultaneously so you won't spend too much time trying to kill them one after another. But again, you can always just brute force it if you have enough single target DPS anyway. I'm going to ensure that I have full energy for the next chamber, and leaving 1 minute for the next boss can generally be enough for a full start clear.
Nice and spicy!
Let's light it up. Enjoy.
Absorption test!
Oh, jeez. Let's light it up.
Stand clear! Boba, get them!
Let's light it up.
No Bulbasaur.
So here's the chicken again, and if you've done previous abysses or fought it in the overworld, you know the drill. You can force it to become enraged, then disabled by inflicting it with quicken reactions, and watch out for its enraged attacks if it charges, but while it's down, its resistances are also reduced, so you can deal a lot more damage to it. If you use Pyro to burn it, it will summon shrooms, which aren't a big deal, but can be a bit annoying. Then of course, you can also ignore these reactions and just simply brute force it.
Exterminate! Lightning purify! Stand with me! Scatter! Spring force! Shadow Raven! Out of my way! Let the show begin! Propagate!
Scatter.
The first wave here is various elemental specters that are immune to their respective element, but it's easy to kill them as long as you have different elements too. Crowd controlling them is also effective to easily deal AoE damage. Then the second wave is 3 Pyro Whopper Flowers. They tend to teleport towards you anyway, so grouping them shouldn't be that hard. If you have crowd controllers, then it'll be way easier. And then if they bring up their Pyro shields, Hydro and Electro are the fastest way to break them. Breaking them stuns the Whopper Flowers, whereas letting them charge completely gives them ranged attacks. The last wave is 4 Shadowy Husks. When the Geohusk summons its barrier, just go behind it to deactivate it. I prefer going after the Anemo Husk first with the bow at the right. Its range attacks are pretty annoying, and the other ones are melee, so they tend to go to you anyway. Try to push, bait, crowd control, and keep them all together as much as possible, so you can deal AoE damage and finish them off faster. If not, picking them off one by one is fine,
2 seconds. I'm pretty sure the Channeling was never in Bennett buff, no?
It'll take a bit longer.
Well, the channeling
Also,
after
be
leaving
aware
the
that
buff,
you'll
no?
start to get the
Or am I
rolling ground
corned?
damage thing, so if you're not
Maybe I'm
careful, you
corned.
may
I don't
lose
know.
too much HP.
He was? Okay, maybe I'm just dumb. It's okay.
In the second half is the Perpetual Mechanical Array, which is a very straightforward fight. It was featured in a recent Abyss cycle, so if you've done that, you know how this goes, and you can totally skip this. If not, then let's just recap. It telegraphs its attacks pretty obviously, so just keep on dodging them if you don't have a shielder. If it flies into the air, you can still continue attacking it if you have a ranged unit.
Stand with me! Scatter!
No rest for the wicked.
Lightning purify! By royal... Dissipate! Go, Barber!
After around 40 seconds, or at 30% HP, it enters its defensive mode and creates 4 Ruin Sentinels which have their own attack and movement patterns. Look for the one with the ring aura. That's who you need to kill to make the PMA vulnerable again. If it's the Dorito, it dashes away from you, so as a trick, keep it between you and the PMA so it'll dash to the PMA. This way, it's easier to start hitting the PMA as soon as the Dorito is dead. If it's the crab, then it'll be very annoying to kill if it puts up its shields, so you can try stunning it by poking its eye or baiting it to the PMA so it'll jump on you. If it's the snake-like one, you can actually bait it beside the PMA since it will try to teleport towards you, which can also make it more convenient to kill the PMA afterwards. Once the PMA is vulnerable, then kill it ASAP.
I'll settle this! Scatter!
If it's a crab restart, true. Yeah. That's kinda fair, honestly. But it's second side, so you don't wanna.
Out of my way!
Midnight.
For the last first half, we have the Dirge of Coppelia. Coppelia will deal anemo damage to you and push you around, while Coppelius will go around the battlefield and fire cryo wave projectiles at you. You can try to keep him in your sights so you can track where he is and if he's attacking you. These hits at you. You can try to keep him in your... This will go around the battlefield and...
That's that's a TDDS
Fire crying
sucrose,
with
right?
projectiles at you. You can
she
try to
just
keep him
TDDS
in your
better.
sight so you can track where he is and if he's attacking you. These attacks can also trigger reactions on you, like Melt from Bennett's self-pyro application, so they can hit pretty hard when that happens. Coppelius always returns to Coppelia and restarts the cycle. It's mostly a matter of focusing your attacks on Coppelia and staying alive from their constant barrage of attacks, which follow a consistent pattern anyway. Dodging or strong healing will be important if you don't have a shielder. Memorizing Coppelia's attack patterns, if you're not familiar with it, will also help a lot.
Everybody stand back! Know my soul! Witness the power! Stand clear! Nice and spicy!
It's relatable, true. It is relatable.
Finally, we have the newcomer in the Abyss lineup, the Fontaine Local Legend version of the Arithmetic Enhancer mech. Its special mechanics are summoning a strong Geo Shield and creating a gravity reduction field that can allow you to jump high. The shield won't be easily destroyed by normal reactions, and you'll want to use blunt attacks to destroy it. Melee plunging attacks are an example of blunt attacks, so that's the default way to destroy the shield. Other options are using Claymore attacks, Geo attacks, and then Zhongli's Hold, Skill, and Burst are really effective against it. Once the shield is gone, a Numa attack can further disable it, but at this point, you can deal damage to it normally and it'll be much easier to kill. If it puts up its shield again, then repeat the cycle until it's dead.
Okay, I think there's some important tips missing here. Let's see if she mentions them.
By royal let's dance! This way! Out of my way!
Midnight.
I'll protect us!
I don't think she does mention them.
Reveal! So far! Again!
And that's it for this cycle's Abyss Guide. Comment down below what you think of the enemies in this Abyss cycle and what teams you use to defeat them. If this video helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel.
Okay, so let's talk about this guy and how to properly deal with him. Okay. I don't want to fucking. It's second side, so it's really cringe to showcase it inside Abyss. So I'll just use the overworld one, but its mechanics are not different as far as I'm aware, so it's fine. Right? And Zajef Daily, don't make this into a video because I'm gonna make a video on this Abyss. Caught. Okay, so if you do the usual, I guess the default way of doing it, right? You break the shield. Oops. I have Jolie, I realize I don't need to be doing whatever, right? You break the shield and then you start your setup, right? I guess this was actually, well, whatever, sure.
Gather. Let the mighty be humbled.
You can see, right? Part of that is because we fucking Numa did early, but okay, I guess this is not the best thing to be showing this. Let me. I think this is going to be a really good team to showcase it, actually.
I trust you have.
That's actually good. I don't give a shit about how much damage I'm doing. So him being on 5 is good. Okay, so. Right. If I just start by breaking the shield. Right? And then I start my rotation. Right?
Dare to mess with me? Ears of the... But my name, echoing sound. Seize the skies.
Ah, fuck, whatever. Okay, cool. And then I start hitting him. I guess we got... Oh my god. Dude, why did we get lucky, man? I can't show the thing I want to show if I get lucky. Whatever, man. Seems fine. Yeah, because I got lucky. Whatever. Right? If I start my rotation like this, breaking it first and then doing this, right? Okay, very cool. Then I start dealing damage to him. Oh my god, I got lucky again. I am going to... It's fine. But even then, right? Even though we got lucky, he still... I'm tilted. I can't show it if I get unlucky. If I get lucky, I can show it well. I'll just break him during that attack, because that's like generally what ends up happening. Okay.
Am I...
Fuck you. How did that hit me? Whatever, man. And that, chat? That is why we have 280 ER. Why is she not on top? Okay, so, right? You default, okay, whatever. Kill him during that, then start your setup. Very cool. I am going to... Whatever, man. Alright, but as you can see, it shields back up very early into our setup, right? And that can be a problem. Because our setup is relatively long. Right? And so what you want to do instead... How did that hit me? Okay, whatever, man. right, is you want to get it low, but not quite dead.
Dare to mess with me? Here's the time to shine.
And then break it during your setup.
Skyward! Seize the sky! Lament! Worthless! Here!
So that you get a longer DPS uptime. Isn't this common sense? I mean, yeah, just like positioning yourself so that when enemies go forward, they go towards you is all like, yeah, that's... These things are common sense. You don't need to be a genius to figure it out, but you need to know how it works to figure it out, and a lot of people don't. You know, like, it's... You don't have to be a fucking dick to people that don't play the game as much as you do. It just, I don't know. You are not passing the vibe check with that comment. Like, that seems like a fucking cringe-ass thing to say. Right? Because not everyone knows what are the requirements for it to get its shield back up. Is it time-based? Is it attack-based? Is it... Like, what are they? And the answer to that is it always gets its shield back up at the end of its second attack after you break its shield. So the perfect moment to break its shield would basically be now, right? At the start of of a long attack. And then you hope that you get a good attack after it. Rage? We do, Pog, right? So his shield stays broken for a while. And you want to also break it after doing a setup, ideally. What happened when I said I got lucky? I got the 2 longest attacks in a row. And I actually had enough time to do my full rotation, including setup. After breaking it. That's not something you can rely on. Why didn't they have this boss in a Blizzarding Shenion's banner? I don't know. Which Farina state disables him? Healing. Can you kill the robot in Abyss in 10 minutes without breaking the shield on your account? Probably. I don't wanna, because that sounds boring as fuck. But I probably could, yeah. Okay, what do I want to play Shao. I'm gonna play him second side. Why do I play first side? I guess I just play Nevilette again. Sure. I do not mind. I do have the cringe now, though. My Farina's not on the right build, but that's okay, I guess.
Illusion shattered. wisdom. Let's get it up.
Be sanctified. Bow your head.
No!
You meet at last, meddler.
I don't want to talk about it.
Did I scare you?
Settle down.
Grow. Make yourself some room.
I missed one of them with my...
Buckle up.
The time beckon.
Did I scare you?
I see everything. The Temple of Wisdom. Look alive.
Let the mighty be humble.
Did I scare you?
The banquet is nearing its end. Joyous times of bleeding.
Where the fuck did it... Oh, there it is. I can't see. I can't see.
Have fun with this. My name. Make way for
Oh shit! My child's on. Why didn't you guys tell me? Why didn't you guys tell me? Why did you guys not tell me? Why? Why didn't you tell me, chat? Why didn't you tell me? We did? No, you didn't. I'm gonna check your logs right now, see if you told me. Shit, you told me. Fuck. Shit. Well, I didn't see it, so that's honestly your fault, really. You should have said it in all caps. Should have said it louder.
There is no escape. Make yourselves at home. Buckle up.
Be sanctified. Silence.
We meet at last, meddler.
Illusion shattered.
Settle down.
Hey, the Temple of Wisdom. This is
I tried to swap. Whatever, man.
The banquet must go on. Apologies.
Ah!
Settle down.
There is no escape. Everyone help him.
Whoa, how am I on 1 HP?
Buckle up.
What the fuck happened?
Mighty be humble.
Oh, I guess it just fucking damage over time to me.
Bow your head.
How inconsiderate of you.
Okay, stop staggering me, please.
Illusion shattered. Committed to memory. Banquet is nearing its end.
Silence.
Yeah, she started bleeding. My bad. Oh well.
We'll see about that.
You kind of sounded like my vacuum.
Confirmed.
Well, that sucks. Sorry. Is my Shenyan on the wrong build as well? I don't think I have enough to want to rotate. Oh! So close.
Dare to mess with me?
I actually would have one rotated if Karina was on the right build, I think.
is no escape. Sharing my knowledge.
Please stop, this hurts my eyes. It hurts mine as well, man, trust me. I don't like doing it any more than you like watching it. What the? That, okay, that one was straight up invisible. I swear I did not see it coming.
Shine down.
What the fuck?
Have fun with this game. Use your own time to shine. Seize the skies.
Lament!
Worthless. Here. Here.
This E didn't hit. Okay, whatever, man.
Ears of the storm. Shower me with
Pog, we got lucky.
Make way for the form. Evil conquering. Worthless.
Okay, Chunyun's damage buff is hitting the enemies that have no health bar instead of the one I have to kill. What is this, man? Like, what is this, man? Like, what is this?
Illusion shadow. Settle down. This may hurt a little. Make yourselves at home. Buckle up.
The time beckons. Silence.
No, they're gonna disappear. My balls!
There is no escape.
Settle down.
Grow. Sharing my knowledge.
Be sanctified. Bow your head.
My balls! Okay.
Dare to mess with me? Let the world collide. Seize the skies. Useless. Lament. Worthless. Here. 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 Worthless. Here. Ears of the storm.
Why did I do that?
Well,
I don't know why I did that. What? Okay, man.
useless. Here.
Why did I do that? Oh my god, am I stupid? I don't have my ult? Okay.
Great clouds converge. Skyward. Scatter. Too late for regret. Have fun with
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about any of it. And we got an unlucky attack. It's fine. Okay. I don't want to talk about it. I wish to not. Do we have to talk about it? Do we have to? Do we have to? Do we have to talk about? Do we have to talk about? Do we have to? Do we have to talk about it? I can't see.
else more interesting to do? Being too popular can be such a hassle. Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Bro is staring? Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm kind of... I'm kind of... Yeah. I'm kind of... Yeah. I'm kind of meh.
Boring. Isn't there anything else more interesting to do?
I'm kind of meh. I think that might be it for the day. Do the event. No. I'll do it tomorrow. Flugy. Starrel? I don't even want to play Starrel. I just want to end stream.
Being too popular can be such a hassle. Who knew the people would adore me so much?
Yeah, I think that's going to be it for the day. I hope you all enjoyed your stay. Hope you had a nice time. Hope you are doing well. Ugh. And, yeah. I am going to go back to bed, I think. And honestly, I don't think today I want to raid anyone. I'm just gonna end stream. Well, you know what? It's been a while since I raided Komemos. We can raid him. But I'm not gonna stick around.
You could try. Wait, no, there's no healer.
Go say
if I do
hi.
that. I could do Jean. Oh, you haven't built your Jean. You don't have
Hello!
Jean. Oh, there's no Jean.
And nothing else. Only hello. Okay, bye.
Any character pool regrets? Not really.